Hello and welcome. My name is András Tálas, Technical Consultant at Comprion. In this short training, I will show you how you can convert a SIM card into an eSIM profile. If you are ready, we can start. The first step is to scan the card content. For this, I will use Comprion File Tree Express tool. I have inserted my card into a PCST smart card reader and started the File Tree Express. On the tool, I need to select the smart card reader, which is an OmniKey reader, and need to connect to it. Once the connection is established, I see that my card contains an MF, a USIM, and an iSIM. Before scanning the content, I need to give the pin codes, which I can do with clicking on the Manage Pins button. And there are 3 pin codes which I need to give. A global one, I know the value is 0000. A local one for USIM, clicking on the value, I give again 0000 and the iSIM pin, which is 0000. After the pin codes are given, I can start the scanning by clicking on the Scan and Read button. Once the scanning is finished, I need to export the scan file trees into a Comprion XML file tree, which later on I will convert into an eSIM profile format. I click on the Export button and save as scan file trees. Once the export has been done, I open the file trees, and before going into the conversion, I need to select those files which are SIM card specific and does not need in an eSIM profile. These are typically those files where the file ID starts with a letter, not with a number. From the iSIM ADF, this is EF key S and EF key S int nav list. To delete these 2 files, I need to select them and then go to the delete button here. Yes. Delete this one. And after deletion, I need to save the file tree. Then do the same with USIM, where I look after the files which are not needed. These are EF key S, which I delete, and EF key S int nav list, which I delete also. After deletion, I save the USIM file tree as well. Once I have scanned the SIM card content and saved it, I can start to create the new eSIM profile. I will do it with EUICC Profile Creator tool from Comprion. After opening the tool, I click on the New button, and the tool will create the framework of a new profile for me, creating a profile header and the PEN structure. Looking at the profile header, I can see that it contains the main properties of a profile, like the version, ICC ID, mandatory services, and mandatory templates list. There are 2 views from which I can choose how I want to edit the profile. Either I edit directly in the ASN1 notation, or I choose to edit in a more user-friendly way by a profile editor. I choose the second option and change the values which I need in this profile. First, I will change the profile version from 3.4 to 2.3, which is more widely supported by EUICCs. From the mandatory services, I need to opt also the eSIM service because my profile contains eSIM service, and no other changes needed. The next step is to import the scanned SIM card content into this new profile. For this, I will use the import function of the EUICC profile creator. I click on import, import below, and choose here the format in which I have saved the file trees. It was file tree express XML file tree format, and choose first the MF XML and add it to the profile. The conversion from the XML file tree format into the ASN1 profile format is automatically done by the tool during the import. Let's import the other two file trees as well. The USIM and the iSIM. Now I need to create the PAC and the PIN codes. Let's start with creating the PAC codes. After the MF, I click on the Add Below button and choose the PIN PAC codes. As we have only one PAC code, I will go into the editor, and from the default template, I will delete those PAC codes which are not needed. Remove, remove. I keep the value as 0 and keep the max attempts and the retry number left as it is defined in the template. PAC codes are done. Then I create first the global pin codes. I need only one global pin code, so I go into the editor, and from the default pin PE, I remove ADM1 and pin application 2 and keep the pin application 1 with value 0000, and I click the enabled box and keeping the max attempts and the retry number left. I also need to create. I realize, looking at this error message here, that the PE pin codes defines global pins but does not come right after the creation of the MF. I realize that I put the PAC codes and the pin codes in the wrong place, so I will choose the place that it should come right after the MF. Okay, done, and the error message has disappeared. Then I will create the local pin codes, first for the USIM. Click on Add Below button, choose the pin codes, and edit the default template. Again, I delete ADM1 and pin application 2 because we don't need them. And in the pin application 1, I change it to local pin, which is second pin application 1. Keeping the value as 0000, again choose it to be enabled, and this is done. Finally, I need to create a local PE pin code for the ADF eSIM. Click on PE pin codes, go into the editor, delete those pins which I don't need, and change from global pin to local pin. Keeping the value, checking in the enabled box, and this is done. Before continue, adding new profile elements into the profile, let's just take a look at this red exclamation mark, which is beside some of the profile elements. The exclamation mark can be red or yellow. It depends on the seriousness of the issue found within the profile. Comprion EUICC Profile Creator makes a live scanning of the profile, and in case it finds anything which needs to be solved, then it gives us a warning or indicates an error. Let's first take a look at the MF. It has a red exclamation mark, which indicates that there are some errors which needs to be handled in this profile element. If I take a look at the validation messages, the first red exclamation mark says that the file ID 7F00 is already used by ADF eSIM. I click on this and I go here and change this value to 7F01. So the first red exclamation mark disappeared. Second one, it's saying that ADM1 is not present within the global pins defined by the PE pin codes. It means that the pin status template DO needs to be changed. It should not contain the ADM1. So I choose to change it in the editor view, clicking on this, going into the ADF eSIM, and I can see here the red exclamation mark at the pin status template property. So I change it from pin application 1, ADM1, deleting ADM1 and adding the local pin codes. So it will be pin application 1, second pin application 1. These two values are already defined within the profile, so the red exclamation mark disappeared. The same change I need to do for the eSIM. Go to the editor view, click on the ADF eSIM, and do the change in the pin status template. Unchecking ADM1 and checking the second pin application 1. There is another error, which is down in the file tree within the DFs, but this is basically the same error, so it's easy to change. Unticking ADM1 and checking in second pin application 1. I do the same changes for the DF MEX, for the DF VLAN, for the DF HNB, and the other DFs which has a red exclamation mark. Let's take a final look at the red exclamation mark within the PMF. If we go through the list, we can see that always it indicates that the ADM1 is not present within the global pin codes. Let's see if there is any other change which needs to be done, but no, it's not indicated. So let's change it one place. For the MF, I only need the global pin, which is pin application 1. I need to untick the ADM1 and I don't need to choose a second pin application 1 because here for the MF I only need to use global pins. Clicking on OK and the first red exclamation mark disappeared. After all, I have updated the pin status template for all the DFs, I can see that the red exclamation marks has been disappeared. What I do is I scan through the file trees to see if there are any red indication, and in the eSIM file tree I see one red indication for the EF Suki calc info. I click on this and I can see that besides the record number there is an exclamation mark. There is no record number given for the security attributes. This property defines how you can access this file. In case of EF Suki calc info, there are two possibilities. Either this Suki calculation information is read from this file under DF5G or from another file which is called EF Suki calc info usim. We need to make sure that it can be read only from one file. Now I want to get it read from the EF Suki calc info usim, which is here. So for the EF Suki calc info, I need to give a security attributes, which is never for reading. I know that the EFAR file structure does not contain any security attributes with never value, so I need to create it. The EFAR is the file which contains all the security attributes and which are referenced on file level. So I need to go to the EFAR, which is in usim ADF under file ID 6F06. It's this one. And I need to create a new security attribute. How I can do this is within the file size, where it's defined how many records this file contains. Basically, how many security attributes this file contains. I increase the value from 26 to 27. Then I go to the file content and go to the record 27 and add here an access mode, which will be an access byte. The command which is guided by this access mode is the read command and the search commands. And the security condition I need to change from always to never by right click on it and choosing the never. Once this is done, I need to go back to the EF Suki calc info file. I need to find it. It's here. And choose a record number, which is the last one, 27th. Click on OK, and the red value disappeared. In the next step, I need to add a profile element which contains the authentication parameters. I need to do it both for usim ADF and for iSIM ADF. Let's start with usim ADF. After the local pin codes, I click on the add below and choose the PAKA parameter. I need to know those values which belongs to the usim ADF, the key, the OPC, and the out countermax. I know these values and just copy them into the profile. The key, the OPC, and the out countermax. I also know that this profile has a millenage authentication algorithm, so I don't need to change this one. After the eSIM ADF, I need to give the same AKA authentication parameters for the eSIM. I add it after the eSIM local pin codes. Again, right-click on the button and add below PAKA parameters. Here, I will use the option which is called mapping because I will use the same parameters as used for the eSIM ADF. I go to the editor view and in the AKA parameters, at the AKA parameters mapping, I choose yes. And I need to give the mapping source the AID, but the program helps me to choose from the sources. There is only one source in this profile, which is the eSIM, and the AID is displayed here, so I just need to select it, and this is fine. By this step, we have created an EUICC profile with the same content as on our SIM card. In the next step, we need to create a security domain because for an eSIM profile, this is mandatory to have an MNOSD on the profile. I choose to add the P security domain, clicking on the PAK parameters and add below because I want to add it under the AKA parameters of the eSIM, and I can see that I have received a default template for the security domain. I take a look at the editor view because that's more user-friendly and see all the parameters which are defined for the security domain, like all the AIDs, application privileges lifecycle, all the parameters, and the key values. In case I need to change something, I can easily done in this editor, for example, adding a privilege, like the final application privilege. I just need to click in this privilege. If I need to change a parameter, then I click on the parameter, for example, UICC Toolkit application specific parameters, and I see the editor view. Let's change the maximum menu entry text length from 1 to 5. And finally, let's change a key value also from the key list, clicking in the key components, and in the data, I change the key value. In case I want to enable the changing of the profile content on the EUICC after installation using over-the-air methodologies, I need to create PRFM instances. I will create 3 PRFM instances, one for the MF, one for the USIM, and one for the eSIM. So let's do it. I choose the PRFM instance and create 3. Looking at the first one, we can see in the ESN1 value notation that the AIDs that are list, minimum security level, and access domains are defined. For the MF, this is correct. For the USIM ADF, first we need to select a different instance AID. I will choose it as 2, and I need to change the tar value as well. And in the editor view, I will add ADF access to this PRFM for the USIM ADF. And the access domain values needs to be full access to the file system. For the RFM eSIM, I need to do the same changes. First, change the instance AID. This is already used, so a different one. change the tar value, and in the editor view, add the ADF access for the eSIM. At the end of the profile creation, it's worth to take a look at the warning messages which the EUICC profile creator generated scanning through the content of the whole profile. Let's start with the profile header. If I take a look at the validation messages, I see different messages. First one is the ICC ID does not correspond to the value provided in EF ID. I can choose to change it or not because this is just a warning. Let's choose to change it. I need to copy it and copy it from here to here. Then I can see further validation messages which are related to some services which can be defined as mandatory service for the profile. I recommend you define mandatory only those services which are supported by the UICC on which you want to install the profile. And finally, one OID does not refer to a file structure template, which is part of the version 2.3. I can choose to remove this template. I take a look at the eSIM ADF. There are validation messages related to some services in the EFUSD and some linked files. I choose not to change them. It gives validation messages regarding file sizes. I can either ignore them or change them accordingly. And finally, in the eSIM PE, one validation message which is related to the services, and another one which is just an informative message, again related to the services. Once it is done, I need to save the profile, save the profile as new profile ASN1 in ASN file type, and I can also choose to save as a DER code, either hexadecimal or binary. Let's choose now to save it also in binary. The blue dots, besides the profile elements, indicate that there were some changes made in the profile element. So after making this change, please don't forget to save the file. The profile is ready, and this is also ready to be tested. In case you want to test it, the simple testing way is to install the profile onto an EUICC card. For this, you can use the Comprion EUICC Profile Manager tool. Let me show you how. After you start the tool, you need to select the connection, which is a card reader connection because the EUICC card is inserted into a PCSC card reader. Once you selected the connection, you need to connect. And the connection is established. After this, you can go to the Loader Consumer Devices tab, where you just need to select a new configuration or any other configuration which your card supports. And you need to click on the download button, select the profile which you have created, optionally define some metadata. I will just give a name to the profile, new profile, and click on the download button. And now we just have to wait until the profile is installed on the card. Once the profile is installed, we can see a message that the profile was downloaded successfully, and we can see here the profile. After this, we need to enable. You can further test your profile by comparing the installed content on the card with the originally scanned file tree from your SIM card. This way, you can compare your SIM card content with the eSIM card content. For this, you can use the Explorer function in the UICC Profile Manager tool. Clicking on it, you will see first that you need to select the configuration of the OTA commands, because here the tool scans the card, the UICC, using RFM commands. So you need to configure the OTA. The tool offers you an import function, and it makes all the keys and parameters extracted from the profile. After selecting the profile, you will get the configuration with all the SCP parameters, keys, and other things which are needed for scanning the card. Click on Continue, and you can choose which file tree you want to scan from the UICC. Let's choose the eSIM file tree and start the scanning by clicking on the Scan and Read button. Once the scanning has been finished, I can start the comparison. I click on the eSIM just to see the file tree, and then clicking on the Compare button. So with this function, I can compare the eUICC content with the original SIM card content. I need to choose these two contents. So one is the scan file tree, which has been just scanned, and the other one will be the file tree of the SIM card, which has been scanned at the beginning. Clicking on this, I can look at which properties will be compared, and then click on the Compare button. The differences are listed here. So one of the difference is the EFSUKI calc info file, which does not exist on the UICC, while it exists on the SIM card. Second difference, the EFUSPR content, which is not available on the UICC, and on the SIM card, it's full FF. And finally, the third difference is the record count in the EFERR, which is 27 in the UICC and 26 on the SIM card. Finally, you can test the newly created eSIM profile by downloading it to a real commercial phone. In this scenario, you can use the Comprion ETPS service. I hope this video was useful for you, and you will be able to successfully convert the content of your SIM card into an eSIM profile. Goodbye.